let's put
These
it
are
this
these
way.
are characters. These are characters
Yes,
that were never detected in the past,
yes.
and they start to show up about 6 to 8 months ago.
I agree with that, and this is why I agree with that. Because
Okay,
in order to
it's kind of like
persuade,
you constantly being stimulated in some ways. Over time, you become desensitized to the point where a prick with a needle to the point of start to bleed or ooze blood. You're still not sensing it. You start still not feeling it and say ouch, right?
well, that's
Because you get
because,
so
yeah, but
desensitized and
yes,
conditioned over time.
but sensitization and conditioning is only possible if you're believing something from outside of yourself.
That's right.
In other words, you didn't get that information from your own open heart, from your own spiritual mind,
Right.
from your own consciousness and your own discernment. It's like a war of the influencers.
That's right.
And they know damn well that if they influence too much with one, ideology, that you might get desensitized and worn out with that one. So then they
Right.
switch gears with another one. But the point is, you're still a deer in the headlights. You're still a human who has been manipulated and who's been mind controlled or at least indoctrinated by their whatever they want.
Yeah.
And this is, you can see this every day. You can see this on the internet. You can see this
Right.
constantly. In other words, they're not telling you to build up your own internal resources. They're not telling you, they might make that as a catchphrase, but it's not their intent. Their intent is to come up with some kind of Cinderella fairy tale story to make you
Right.
believe that their intel, that their discernment, that they have some kind of like spiritual connection with the
Sure.
source. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And the source told me today that this is what's going on in the world, and that you better believe me, and then you'll have a connection to the source, which, of course, you don't know about because you have never, fertilized and cultivated the source connection in yourself.
Right.
Well, what's going on here? Why the hell should I believe somebody else who says they have a source connection? Why shouldn't I just build my own source connection and understand it for myself?
That's right.
This is the difference between truth and persuasion,
Correct.
or fact and propaganda. It's all
Yes.
about what you believe. And my point, which has always been in our many conversations, is that there's only one person, or one
Mhm.
thing, or one energy, or one soul that you should believe in, and that's yourself.
That's right.
And if you have any concept of giving up your ability to believe in yourself, you're lost.
Mm.
You're lost on the sea. You're lost on the sea of manipulation.
Right.
You know, and what you were just saying earlier is a perfect example of that. And what are we seeing in our society every day? We're seeing people trying to constantly tell us what to do, what to think, what to know, and it's kind of like selling commercial products, like, oh, this is the greatest new washing machine. Or
Sure.
this is the most wonderful, neighborhood to live in, or
Right.
whatever it is. Why can't we discover those things for ourselves?
That's
You
right.
know, and I know the U.S. as my friend for a long time now realize that this is the battlefield. It's the
It is.
battlefield of belief, isn't it?
Right. Yep.
What else is going on in the world today that equates with this war? Well, let's talk about the financial system. Now, lately,
Sure. Sure.
we don't usually talk about Intel, but lately
Right.
we have a situation where the United States has declared bankruptcy,
Yes. That's right.
but they've deferred that because they say that, oh, we can raise the bar. Is
Can
that
raise the debt
yeah,
ceiling.
yeah, the raise the debt. Is that like the long jump? In the long jump,
Yes.
they have this bar that you have to jump over that, and then you get into the sand on the other side, right? So
Hmm.
but the who's raising that bar? Is it the Olympic athlete that's doing it, or is it some outside force like the Olympic Committee? Well, in this case, it's the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve says that, oh, you guys, all you have to do is tell us, and we'll raise the bar.
That's right.
The only problem is they haven't got enough money to pay for that.
Yeah.
So where are they going to get it? Well, I read in the news today that the Federal Reserve is planning to do a massive treasury bill sale auction, they call it, tomorrow. And by the way, today is 2023-06-04. Okay.
That's right. Also called the Tiananmen Square Massacre.
Now, there's a lot of chatter on the internet, and we don't usually talk about details like dates and times. We usually talk about philosophical subjects and things. But it seems to me that tonight is a different kind of night, and tomorrow they're saying that they're going to sell a couple of $1 trillion worth of treasury bills. Do you believe that? Do you think that's possible? And who's going to buy them?
Nobody. It's all make believe.
Well, they'll probably start off the auction like, I used to be in the car business, and what we did is, in order to get the price up, we would the owners of the vehicles, the owners of the cars would bid the first bids.
Sure.
Because you got nothing to lose. Because if you win the bid, it's your own car, so you get to keep it.
That's right. That's right.
That's how auctions work. So what we would do is we would bid right away, fast, as if we were so excited, and we would do it under assumed names. And in the case of the Fed, it would be offshore bank accounts,
right,
or so-called foreign bidders. And then, they would bid up the price, and then boom, 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 and then we'd try to suck other people in. In other words, it's like get everybody excited that there's a profit potential here. And the interest rate is going to be great. It's going to be 5 or 6%. Oh, my God. But look at the term. 3 months? 6 months? What? That's desperation.
It is desperation.
That's desperation.
And eventually, they may come down to 1 week or 2 weeks.
Or how about tomorrow? 100% for tomorrow. It's a kind of lie. And the point here is that will it work?
I personally don't think so.
I personally don't think so either.
There are far too many crazy things going on out there that, frankly, is
That's
hard
right.
to say, right?
Yes.
For example, Saudi Arabia is still flush with certain kind of money.
Right.
Of course, there are funny money on their side in their warehouses too. Fact of the matter is, will they bite? Nobody knows. But it's just like kind of like me waiting for CCP side of the money matters to burst, if you know what I mean.
I wanted to say something psychological now, and get away from the the details, technical details, which we do not have control over, and we're not exactly sure what will happen. But psychologically, there's an old saying: "Don't count your chickens before they're hatched."
Right.
And honest people don't do that. Honest people grow their food before they count how much they've got in their larder.
That's right.
Honest people wait for the harvest. Honest people always invest in something that they know will be beneficial in the long term, and not just be part of a crowd's hysterical sudden increase in value.
Sure.
But the people that we're dealing with here in the present age, in the present world government, they don't think like that. No, they are trying to get something fast right now because they're sinking. Their ship is taking on water, and they're going down, and they know they're going down. And they're grabbing everything they possibly can.
Correct.
and they're just trying to preserve it for another day or another week or another month. It's the last. It's what we call rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic,
Right.
and it works, but it only works for a very short term. And you can
Correct.
see that with the T-bill auctions coming up next week. That's ridiculous.
Hmm.
3 and 6 months?
Hmm.
Why? And of course, your media will never tell you that this is a highly unusual. It's usually 5 years, 10 years, 30 years.
That's right.
Okay, maybe there's 20 years
Yeah.
in there. I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial expert, but I
Yeah.
can see what the problem is. I can smell the rat
Yeah.
in the holds of the ships that are sinking
Sure.
around the world. It's not just one country. It's
Correct.
everywhere. I mean, we have
Yep.
a massive financial crisis in Asia with apartments, with property values.
That's
There's
right.
nobody buying anything.
Well, even here locally in Vancouver, did
Hmm.
I or have I shared with you
Please do.
recently with one from Richmond local papers called Richmond News?
Your intel is highly valued. Please go for it.
Right. There are some high-rise apartments projects ongoing, but they're having such difficult times renewing their loans with the bank to to
Yes.
carry on with the construction. Frankly, I think they are not stop again.
In other
So at
words,
the end,
they're
will they
not
be
building.
completely abandoned?
Wow.
Nobody knows because you got to realize that as opposed to about a year ago, roughly,
Yes.
bank interest rate has gone up substantially,
It
right?
certainly has.
Previously, it was 1 point something percent. Now it's like 4.6%.
Yep.
It's just ridiculous.
It used to be
And
one
then, of
percent.
course, banks are no longer generous,
Mm-hmm.
so they tighten up their purse strings
Mm-hmm.
and scrutinize each and every renewals and things like that
Yes.
with a fine-tooth comb.
And the other
So,
thing is that people don't understand that building projects take years. I mean, it took
that's
years
right.
to gain control over the land, and then it took
That's
more
right.
years to gain control over the finances. And
Correct.
a big project like a major housing development is five
Yep.
to 10 years, and it might even be
That's
15
right.
years. And people don't get
That's
that.
right.
Now, if you made those plans and you made the purchases of the property based on 0% or 1% interest rates, and all of a sudden it's 4 and 5,
That's
it's
right.
no longer sustainable. You can't do it anymore
That's
because
right.
you can't sell those apartments, especially or
Sure.
those townhouses or whatever it is. You can't sell those, especially in a falling market.
That's right.
Then now the value that you can get in return for your investment is falling and falling, and the
Correct.
amount of money that you need, the expense of that to borrow because of the interest rates rising, is going up and up.
That's
So
right.
the two come into the two collide. The
Yeah.
rising costs and the falling profits collide in the center, and that's
That's
called
right.
bankruptcy.
Correct.
Now,
So
yes, continue.
this mega housing apartment projects, they basically abandon it in such a way that they have voluntarily refund all the deposits that the buyers have
They
put
have to
in.
do that
So
by law if they don't meet the
that's right.
construction deadline. That's right.
That's right. That's right. So to me, it's just another very interesting observations
If
because
anybody didn't
I
meet their
I
construction
know.
deadline and had to
Well, you see,
refund
I know
deposits,
for a fact that the Chinese have been putting a lot of money into our economy, our
of
local
course,
economy, our business and
of course.
properties. Okay,
Yep,
especially in the Richmond area because they have been eyeing Richmond since well, roughly 20 years ago.
yep.
There was a major one. I can't read. Oh, geez, it just crossed my mind. But there used to be a bunch of wealthy foreign Chinese mainland investors who came in and formed some kind of property groups
Yes.
here in Richmond, and they have had secret little meetings with our mayors, with our you know, councilors, and so on, to
Yes.
the point that they have signed off some deals to purchase certain segments of Richmond,
Yep.
property-wise,
Mm-hmm.
to further develop into high-rise apartments.
Of course.
Okay, and in turn, because the city says, "Hey, what's in it for me?" So
Uh-huh.
they have, through after numerous negotiations and renegotiations, they finally settle on the deal that, oh yeah, in turn we're gonna build a new library. We gotta set aside some
Yes.
lands for projects, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Okay, it's been known, but so immediately afterwards, this property management group immediately started the construction projects in earnest. Okay, by kicking out some low density commercial businesses and stores out of business,
Right.
and basically took over and knocked
And this
them
process
down
takes
and stuff.
years. This process takes a while.
It took years, yes. So about 8 years. They started about 9 or 10 years ago.
Right.
Because there is a stretch of Richmond
Mm-hmm.
directly across from Lansdowne Mall, or Lansdowne Center, I call them. Where it used to be, where I can get aquatic fish. There's a Lordco for auto parts. I can go to Sally Ann looking for some funny stuff, and so on. They were low density, low rise. Okay, basically just a storefront, single,
Right.
single story, single layer.
Right.
But they got kicked off, and then the entire segment was cleared, and then they start digging deeper holes and
Yes.
drive some pillars and so on. That part has been they were gradually working through that until about 6 years ago,
Right.
roughly 6 or 7 years ago, looking back, pandemic. Yeah, roughly 2017 or 2018. Suddenly there were no activities there.
Well,
Everything stopped.
look, I want to tell you, and you know very well, that the whole concept of density, and it's all about control. Because if you can get people to live in a small area, it is a ghetto. It is easier to make a 15-minute mechanism where they're going to provide your food and everything, and it's going to be controlled by them, and you don't have any choice. You don't have any choice. They say, oh, it's going to be so convenient. You can go 15 minutes away and buy something from the supermarket. But that supermarket is only going to have GMO foods. That supermarket is only going to have
Tim,
yes, sir.
it already happened. Okay.
Of course it has.
During the pandemic lockdown,
That's their plan.
There has been numerous incidents inside China.
Yes.
Where
that was the model.
Segments of
Yep.
They basically those goons literally came into your housing complex. Those were high rises, not as high as 30 or 40 stories, maybe 15, maybe many, right?
Yep.
Only the fairly well-off can afford to live in a high rise. It's a standard affair. So what happened is, they did this so-called massive, rapid PCR tests.
Yes.
Within the housing complex, and as soon as they detected you having problems, even just as like sniffles, or you mix apple juice with banana juice during the tests, and turn out positive, they immediately sealed your front entrance shut with a welder.
I saw those videos. It's true.
Basically, it's literally starved you guys to death.
Right.
There were people who were mentally unstable or not strong enough, and basically jumped out the window.
And how many died, we will never know.
We will never know, but yes, I know that's a control mechanism.
Of course it is, and you can see that in a society like China, which has many, of course, many generations of CCP communist control, it would be easier to do than in a less compliant democracy where people have a tradition of independence and less reliance on a central government. Okay,
Correct.
so then it becomes a matter of not if but when. When?
Right.
When will they apply those same coercive, control mechanisms on us?
That's
Well,
right.
I just want to tell you that this
Sure.
whole concept of ghettoization, controlling in a geographical area, is absolutely going to stop. And it's going to stop because people are going to rise up. They're going to
Right.
refuse. They're going to
Right.
say no, and they're going to realize that particularly in a nation like Canada, which has a massive geographical area, that
That's
there's
right.
no excuse for having everybody ghettoized into an extremely small geographical area in high-rise apartment buildings. Why would you ever do that? We got geographical lands coming out of our anuses. Okay,
Yep.
there's massive real estate available here, which is undeveloped.
That's right.
So why the hell
That's right.
would you want to do that? Oh, because it's more efficient? No.
Well, okay.
It's not because it's more efficient. It's because it's more penitentiary. And you know what a penitentiary is.
Of course.
It's a prison.
Yes.
Stop.